Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, a desperate rescue effort has been launched today to save a dolphin that stranded itself on the shore. Locals swarmed to the beach at South Arm, wielding buckets and towels, and raced to get the animal back to the safety of deep water.
Stranded in the shallow bay, this dolphin triggering a frantic rescue mission.
Just going home from the school run and saw it out there with a heap of birds pecking at it, so I thought I'd better race out and see if it was alive or dead, and it was alive.
The predicament of the bottlenose deemed serious, locals soon realising the scale of the operation.
Easy 160, 170 kilos, I say, easy.
Buckets and towels used to keep him alive.
We dug a bit of a trench around it, and we got a little bit of a pool, trying to keep it wet, and then a lot more people arrived and they helped as well. And
expert help arriving on the back of a trailer. He's gingerly lifted on, ready to be taken to safer waters. The 3-hour operation over within seconds, released back into the blue near South Arm Jetty.
I always loved the idea to connect with something like that, and yeah, nice feeling, yeah. Especially when we see him alive.
It's a dream, really, to be able to help an animal like that.
The dolphin, it's believed, had become stranded while searching for food.
So it might have been in shallow water and the tide's simply gone out on it, and it's got itself stuck. It's an area that we've seen plenty of strandings before.
Marine experts are praising the moves of those who originally discovered the dolphin this morning and are urging anyone in the same position to immediately call the whale hotline to ensure that animal has the same chance of survival.
They kept it wet, they kept it cool, they kept it shaded, and they kept it upright. So they did all the right things. And I think that's a big part of why we were successful today. He's
now on his own mission to be reunited again with his pod. Louise Huber, 7 Tasmania News.
Arsonists have torched a Mowbray charity store for the second time in 2 years. A passerby alerted firefighters to the blaze, which destroyed donations meant for those in need.
At a time when most businesses are battling, an arson attack is the last thing a well-meaning charity shop needs.
On arrival, they found the area behind me with the furniture well alight, and then that has extended through into the structure.
While leaving a trail of damage, donated goods rendered worthless, the damage bill no doubt sizable, and a critical link lost for finding a culprit. The store had been closed due to COVID.
There's no power to the building. Power's been off for about 3 weeks. Unfortunately, the security cameras along with it, so we won't get anything off those.
Firefighters tell us they had to contend with thick plumes of black smoke when fighting this blaze, as a lot of plastics inside the building disintegrated.
Being a second-hand shop, there's a lot of sort of bric-a-brac and that sort of thing which has been damaged, but nothing structural at this stage.
The same shop was targeted 2 years ago, causing $20,000 worth of damage. That time, police charged a 34-year-old Newnham woman with lighting the blaze. Today, police knocked on the doors of neighbours for clues to try to work out who kicked this store while it was down. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
The University of Tasmania isn't ruling out job cuts as it faces financial headwinds as a result of the pandemic. An independent national committee has been brought in to oversee widespread changes, including a freeze on salaries.
The state's only university to shrink as the impact of the pandemic takes hold.
In the long run, as we come through this with a smaller student population, we do need to be a slightly smaller university.
The University of Tasmania vows to protect jobs as international student numbers dwindle. Voluntary redundancies and early retirements are on the table. Staff were expected to receive a 2% pay increase, which the union has agreed to scrap.
If we can't get there, we would have to look at non-voluntary measures. But in anything we do, we'll be working with our unions, consultative process, with local and national oversight of what we're doing.
The idea of staff considering foregoing a 2% pay rise for the next 12 months in return for, as the university has indicated, savings of 60 to 80 jobs
does need to be considered.
The university will take on debt with revenue expected to be slashed by 5% this year, dropping by more than $30 million.
I think a lot of students would be pretty alarmed about the budget shortfall that the university is facing. We've seen throughout the semester that the university has been willing to put the students first for a number of issues. That doesn't mean the TUU agrees with every measure that the university is implementing.
Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmanian News.
Despite the dwindling number of coronavirus cases, Tasmania will remain in a state of emergency, the Premier says, until our borders are reopened. In the economic fallout of the crisis, the government is preparing to unveil its multi-billion-dollar infrastructure program, using the construction industry to lead the business recovery.
Laying the foundations for a major infrastructure boom, the Premier says construction will lead the recovery.
This will be a construction blitz, and it will be far-reaching, and it will be the best platform to build our state back to its nation-leading economy position quickly.
Aiming to bring forward 4 years of projects totalling $3.1 billion. No concrete details yet, with the plan to be outlined tomorrow.
It will bring forward government construction. It will support construction investment in the private sector as well, and it will create jobs.
But returning to Parliament, the government's track record on construction coming to a fiery head.
But over the last 6 years, your government has demonstrated a complete inability to build your promised projects. That's right. A long list of projects that have stalled under your government include the Bridgewater Bridge.
Labor were given the money for the Bridgewater Bridge 22 years ago. And they spent it, Madam Speaker. So I was 33 years of age. Madam Speaker. 22 years ago. And you stand up and you bowl up that rubbish.
Tensions then rising as Labor questions the Premier on why the full restart of the racing industry hasn't been moved forward, with other moves to ease restrictions.
And why you have shown such callous regard for the jobs that racing supports. What have you got against the racing industry?
I don't thank you on that side for the rank politics that you have played, for the rank politics that you have played on this, Madam Speaker. It is a disgrace. It is an absolute disgrace, Madam Speaker, and you should hang your head in shame.
An independent review of the hardships program also on the agenda, with some businesses claiming the goalposts were moved on their eligibility for $15,000 grants.
If there is a need to revisit some of those applications or to extend the program, I'm more than happy to look at that.
A recovering pandemic, seeing no new diagnoses in 18 days with just 3 active cases remaining. But the Premier says lifting Tasmania's state of emergency will come from interstate.
So in terms of removing the state of emergency, and that will be dependent upon when we can lift the controls on our borders. Because it's not dependent upon what's happening here, it's dependent on what's happening elsewhere. It's what we could bring into the state.
Ruby Kamain, 7 Tasmanian News.
A verdict is expected to be delivered next month on whether meat processor JBS recklessly endangered one of its employees at its Longford factory. A worker at the site suffered severe burns to his legs when he fell into a vat of near-boiling tripe in 2016. He was trying to unblock a vent when he slipped and fell in. Today in the Launceston Magistrates Court, the Department of Public Prosecutions and Defence Counsel put forward their submissions. The company faces a maximum fine of $600,000 if found guilty. A Tasmanian farm has become the first in the state to register a soil carbon project on its property. The Deloraine beef producers are taking steps towards a carbon neutral future, with the innovation spruiked as not only an environmental benefit, but a money maker too.
On the outskirts of Deloraine, a snapshot of green above and below the soil. This is carbon country.
We've got to farm in a certain way, ultimately increasing productivity for us, but at the whole time storing carbon in the soils.
Beef farmers Sam and Steph Trethewey embarking on a new goal.
That our farm can store more carbon than methane and carbon dioxide than it emits.
The pair enlisted soil leaders AgriProve to test their property for carbon at the end of last year, now using new sustainable farming methods. Like planting multi-species crops, any excess gas in the soil counts as credit towards Australia's emissions reductions target under the United Nations Paris Agreement.
The plants that we've got in our paddock sequester carbon, so through photosynthesis they draw down carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and store it in the roots.
Each credit can be sold for as much as $100 per hectare, but in a world rocked by climate change, supporters are adamant the environmental value is just as enticing.
Healthier soils leading to healthier livestock and healthier produce.
It's a win for farmers, it's a win for the cattle, it's a win for Mother Nature.
AgriProve says land like this has untapped potential, with around 1 million hectares across Tasmania able to be carbon farmed. The next challenge is to get more people on the land to take the leap.
We hope to be signing up and working with as many as possible, at hopefully 100 farmers over the next 12 months in Tasmania.
This is what we call beyond sustainable. It's the future, and it's what I think all farmers need to consider doing.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmanian News.
Recreational scallop fishers can prepare to dive into the Tasmanian season, set to open Friday afternoon. Originally meant to begin before Easter, the season closed in a bid to prevent people from travelling around the state amid COVID-19. It's now set to be extended to the end of November, with the late start seen as a positive.
What has happened is that we've had a delayed season, and that means the scallops are likely to be bigger, juicier and more delicious than we normally get at this time of the year.
The Don Tricasto Channel will remain closed all year due to stock depletion. COVID-19 isn't stopping Tasmanians from singing their hearts out, with the cancelled Festival of Voices hosting its much-loved sing-along online. Restrictions on mass gatherings forcing organisers to also can the big sing. Instead, the traditional bonfire will be replaced by an online event on July 3.
So much lack of joy in the world, and we still want to go ahead in some sort of way to connect people together, particularly to connect singers together with the community.
This year's song choice, R&B classic Your Love Keeps Lifting Me Higher and Higher. After being thrown a lifeline by the Tasmanian Tigers, new recruit Naomi Stalenberg hopes to blitz with the bat this season. Dumped by New South Wales, Stalenberg has been tasked with reviving the side's top order.
When she's not slamming boundaries, Naomi Stalenberg is slamming her guitar, and moving to Tasmania is just another string to her bow.
With the bat, I just like to play my strokes and hit the ball hard and make an impact from ball one.
Stalenberg says she was surprised when New South Wales gave her marching orders despite a showreel of fine form.
Stalenberg goes long, goes high and goes for 6. Great hit, she's in good touch, Mum loves it.
After 7 years playing for her home state, she comes to Tasmania with good connections.
I've got a few former teammates down there who came from the Sydney Thunder in New South Wales. So Nicola Carey and Maisie Gibson, Belinda Vakarewa.
But it's coach Sally Ann Briggs who found a role for the all-rounder turned specialist batter. Stalenberg will play in the top order, an area where Tasmania has needed a spark in recent years. She's excited about the move. After all, she made her debut in Launceston in 2013.
It's a very relaxed culture and everyone's very inviting and very warm and very collective.
And yes, she's packed the guitars. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmanian News.
As Tasmania's coronavirus restrictions prepare to be relaxed, state basketball is planning for an immediate return to the court. At the stroke of 3 on Friday, as many as 20 players can resume training on indoor courts. Basketball bosses are also preparing for competitions to return in July.
It's obviously been a difficult period, but we're looking forward to coming through bigger and better, hopefully.
More than 14,000 players have been forced to undergo a temporary timeout.
Good evening. Temperatures range from -3 on Mount Wellington today to our top of 15 at Eddystone Point. Hobart 12, Launceston and Burnie 13, Devonport a high of 14. Temperatures below average by up to 5 degrees. Lowhead 14, Smithton, St Helens and the Islands 13, Ouse and Strawn 12, Friendly Beaches and Grove 11 degrees. Mostly clear skies today over the north, a few scattered cloud patches elsewhere in that south-southwesterly airstream. Pretty vigorous that. Cold air lies south and east of Tasmania, low cloud over the Bight under a high pressure zone. A frontal band moves towards WA and a trough brought cloud to the Northern Territory. Not much though. Tomorrow the high has drifted over Victoria, dominating the weather over most of the country. Winds west to southwesterly increasing to 20 to 30 knots over the south and swells to 4 metres. Strong wind warning for waters between Tasman Island and Low Rocky Point, and we have a road weather alert warning of icy roads in the morning for most of the state. Hobart, a cool night tonight, 3, top of 14 tomorrow, 14 the top for Cygnet, a morning frost for New Norfolk, 14 the high as well. Launceston, -1 to 13 the range, a morning frost, a sunny afternoon. Same for Devonport, a top of 13 and 11 the high for Campbelltown after a cold start. Burnie, sunny afternoon, 13 the top, 13 for Strawn with a light late shower. Smithton, a morning frost, 1 overnight, 13 tomorrow. St Helens, a sunny afternoon and 15, same for Swansea. Fingal, a morning frost, -2 to 14 the range there. Showers over the west and far south on Friday, extending statewide by the afternoon. Snow to 800 metres on Saturday with a shower over the west and Bass Strait Islands, and on Sunday fine and partly cloudy with a shower over the west. 23 in Perth tomorrow, sunny and cool for Adelaide and Melbourne, partly cloudy but a bit warmer for Sydney and even warmer again for Brisbane. Partly cloudy in Hobart, 8 right now, 5 degrees in Launceston, 6 degrees in Devonport. A pretty chilly night ahead, Kim.
It does seem that way. Thank you very much, Merv. That is your news for now. Good night.